I'm Mr. Beat, and I like bikes. Actually, I've really been thinking about getting an electric bike because this whole pedaling thing is annoying. But there are many out there that seem to be high quality and also reasonably priced. That said, I think I've narrowed it down to two bikes. Two bikes that unfortunately, I just don't know which one to get because both are the exact same price and both seem to be the exact same quality. So how do I know which one to get? Which leads to an even broader, bigger question. How do you know anything is true or not? Well, we know it's true if I say it's true. Okay, punk? Ow, why'd you do that? You're not the real Mr. Beat. Yes, I am. Don't believe him. I'm the real Mr. Beat. No, I'm the real Mr. Beat. Don't believe him. Now they're confused. How are they gonna know the truth? They don't know who to trust. Say, why should they trust either of us anyway? Yeah, you know, that's actually a good question. Why should they trust us? See, I told you that I'm not a clone. I'm the real Mr. Beat. Where did he go? Mr. Beat, where did you go? I mean, clone, where did you go? I've been thinking a lot lately about what folks think is or isn't the truth. I mean, different people can be given the exact same information, yet interpret that exact same information differently. So, is it even possible to truly know what is truly true? Hey, what is truth? According to my favorite book, the dictionary, the word truth means, quote, the quality or state of being true. Hold on now. That can't be right. Oh, okay. Here we go. I'm sorry. Truth actually means, quote, a fact or belief that is accepted as true. What the heck? What is going on with my life? Nah, man. Truth just means what we accept as reality. We, meaning us humans, of course. Well, humans make mistakes all the time, don't we? So what if all of us get reality wrong? Well, yeah. We get reality wrong all the freaking time. But that's okay, as long as we humans have the shared goal of working together in order for our species to survive. It doesn't necessarily matter that what we accept as reality is a bit different from person to person. Now, when the differences of what we perceive as reality does threaten the survival of our species, that's when we have a problem. And that's why I made this video that you're watching right now. At least I think you're watching this video right now. Wait. Are you watching this video right now? Hello? Finding out if something is true is always a process. Wait, is what you just said true? Shut up. Okay. When people talk, they are constantly making claims. Often those claims are just opinions.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
That said, many of our claims are facts.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
That is a fact. That is a fact.
That's a fact.
That's a fact, that's a fact, and that's a fact.
And that's a fact.
So how do you know something is a fact or opinion? Well, in order to explain this best, we first need a claim. Does anyone have a claim?
Picking your nose causes cancer.
Great. That works. To find out if picking your nose really causes cancer, you can either do your own research and analysis or trust what experts answer in response to that claim. The fact is, we all can't possibly be experts about everything. Ain't nobody got time to learn everything about everything. Therefore, we must listen to experts. But how do we know if someone is truly an expert? First of all, experts are basically the closest thing we have today to fortune tellers. They know so much about a topic that they are often able to predict the future with their knowledge. Now, I wouldn't call myself an expert when it comes to anything, but because I've made videos about and wrote a book about every single presidential election in American history, several viewers care to hear what I have to say about future presidential elections. I can't predict the future. No one can. But, based on my knowledge of American presidential history, many of you clicked to watch my video in which I predicted who would win the election of 2020. And I don't mean to brag, but since I predicted correctly in that video, it's reasonable to conclude that several more might trust that I will predict it right in 2024. No offense to young people, but most youngins are not experts on anything. Yet. Why? Well, experts spend thousands upon thousands of hours studying very specific topics or learning very specific skills. Assuming a 30-year-old electrician began their career as an electrician right out of high school, they likely spent at least 28,000 hours of their life installing and maintaining electrical equipment. I'd say that the electrician was probably an expert, even if they just have one-star reviews online. Most youngins haven't figured out what they want to specialize in, so it's just not possible for them to become an expert yet. But quantity doesn't equal quality. For example, what if that same electrician spent most of those 28,000 hours drunk? Oh, maybe that explains all those one-star reviews. Experts have credibility, or the quality of being trusted and believed in. If they were correct so much in the past, surely they'll be correct in the future. Interestingly, there has been this rising trend to not trust certain experts. Notice the key word is certain. We still generally trust plumbers, landscapers, architects, and engineers, but increasingly there's a lot of folks who don't trust politicians, managers at corporations, journalists, teachers, doctors, or even scientists. It's obvious why a lot of us don't trust politicians or people who run corporations. This is because of incentives.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. Follow the money.
Just follow the money.
Yeah, it really is often as simple as follow the money. You see, it sometimes doesn't matter that someone is an expert at something. We should be skeptical of an expert if it's proven that they are rewarded for making certain claims. Put another way, they may be motivated to make a claim based on rewards that they cannot get simply by telling the truth. Even though they might be risking their own credibility, it might be worth it if there are other rewards that they're gaining.
Hello, I like money.
What inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Money.
Yeah, money. Mainly just money. But that doesn't fully explain why people increasingly are not trusting journalists, teachers, doctors, or scientists. After all, they're all not super rich. Well, some doctors make pretty good money, but teachers and journalists? Most of them barely make enough money to pay the bills. Well, there is research to support that the reason why this phenomenon is happening is because many folks feel that powerful people are using journalists, teachers, doctors, and scientists to push their own interests. Other research supports that because the internet makes information so easily available to all of us, we can easily find evidence that backs up whatever we already believe. And what we already believe is often directly linked to stuff we are extremely familiar with. Here's the thing. People do tend to trust journalists, teachers, doctors, and scientists that they already agree with. More on why that is in a bit. Nearly all of us consume media, so we must be experts at journalism, right? Nearly all of us went to school for our entire childhood, so we must be experts at education, right? Nearly all of us are intimately aware of our own health, so we must be experts at health, right? Nearly all of us have existed our entire lives, so we must be experts at science, right? Okay, maybe that last one was a stretch. Anyway, it is important to recognize that sometimes experts are divided when it comes to certain issues. So that leads to the next way to determine if something is true or not.
Okay, so I was thinking about that argument we had the other day.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I did my own research. And
I'm gonna stop you right there. What do you mean by you did your own research?
So what if you just wanted to do your own research? Well, you can, but it's not going to be easy. It requires this thing called critical thinking. Critical thinking is a way of deciding whether a claim is always true, sometimes true, partly true, or false. It also includes creating new claims based on reason and evidence. I made a video teaching you how to critically think that I released about 10 years ago. You can watch it if you want. Actually, don't watch it. It's not that good. Just stay here and watch this video. Yeah. The first thing you do is come up with a hypothesis. A hypothesis is an assumption made based on limited evidence as a starting point for further research. So let's go back to the claim. Wait, what was the claim? Picking your nose causes cancer. Oh, that's right. So we might have limited evidence that picking your nose can cause cancer if we notice that a lot of people who answered that they pick their nose a lot also happened to get cancer. Well, does it cause cancer? Well, my hypothesis is that it does not. And cancer experts already agree with this. But remember, we're doing our own research. Right. The first thing to be clear on is the definition of cancer and defining the parameters of picking your nose. Cancer has a clear definition, but regarding the picking of your nose, is it picking your nose once a week on average, once a day on average, once an hour on average, once a minute on average? Well, I don't think anyone has that many boogers. And how deep does the finger have to go into the nose? Okay, I think you get it. Once you figure that out, you need to gather evidence. This is often gathered through observation and experience. The whole process is called empirical research. Experiments are carried out to either support or go against a hypothesis. So you need an experimental group, a group of nose pickers that you will closely monitor and track for the rest of their lives. Good luck with that. A good experiment also includes a control group that is used as a baseline for comparison. But simply, a control group is a group in an experiment not being tested. The control group should be treated identically to the experimental group except for the independent variable being tested. So get yourself a control group that you will also closely monitor and track for the rest of their lives. Good luck with that. A good experiment also is randomized, meaning the participants are divided by chance into separate groups. A good experiment clearly identifies the independent and dependent variables that can affect it. A variable is something that is likely to change. So an independent variable is one that does not depend on any other variables in the experiment. A dependent variable, as you probably guessed, depends on other variables in an experiment. If you are following a nose picker around for a long period of time, they're going to pick their nose in different places. Heck, they'll probably move a few times. They'll encounter different people and circumstances that almost certainly will affect their nose picking habits. Those are all variables that can alter the results of the experiment, man. A good experiment is easily replicated, meaning it can be conducted multiple times in the exact same way. It has a large sample size. This means you're not just going to look at 20 nose pickers, or even 200, or even 2,000. The more the merrier. A larger sample size increases the reliability of the results. A good experiment also uses reliably accurate methods for data collection. I could go on, but generally speaking, you just don't mess around with experimentation. It's meant to be a long, tedious, and difficult process. Also, there are many types of research. I've been mostly referencing scientific research, but all of these are types of research that I won't get into to keep this video shorter. But say you don't want to conduct original research because, again, ain't nobody got time for that. If you don't want to blindly trust experts or dedicate your entire life to research, you can also just analyze or break down into smaller and easier parts the sources of claims. How do you know something is a good source? Well, I like crap. The crap test. Here, just look at this. CRAP stands for currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. Currency is about how timely the information is. If the source is from 1972, it's likely not as reliable as something from 2023. We've learned a lot since then, after all. Relevance is about the importance of the information for our needs. Who is the intended audience? If you're not a kid, you probably shouldn't be referencing a kid's book. Is the source actually useful for informing you, or does it just distract you? Authority is about who's responsible for providing the information. Who is the author? Who is the publisher? Who paid to produce the content? Who sponsors it? What are the author's credentials, affiliations, or biases? Remember, everyone is biased, including myself, okay? For example, I am biased to favor people with mullets. For some reason, when I see a mullet, I just trust the person more. Anyway, accuracy is about, accuracy. Does the information cite its sources? Has it been reviewed by other experts? Does the tone of the writing seem free of emotion? Are there basic spelling and grammar issues? And finally, purpose is about the reason why the information exists. Is the purpose of the source to inform and teach, or entertain or persuade? Most of the information you encounter on a day-to-day basis is in fact propaganda, or misleading information meant to promote a cause. Propaganda is everywhere, man, whether we realize it or not. One of the best things we can do when analyzing sources is something called corroboration. Corroboration is independent evidence that supports other evidence. If you have multiple sources that clearly did not work together, all reaching the same conclusion, that conclusion seems more credible. Now, corroboration can be overwhelming. Today, there are literally thousands of news sources at our fingertips. These sources range in size, shape, and bias, from social media accounts to large media conglomerates, and it can be straight up confusing sifting through it all. That's why I believe this video sponsor is a perfect fit for the topic of media literacy. Ground News is an app and website specifically designed to help you with media literacy. They collect media sources and articles from all over the world and package them by story to help you better understand what you're reading. Like this story here about rising sea levels in Hawaii. According to Ground News, 37 total news sources have reported on this story, but interestingly, 14 of those are sources that lean to the left, and only 3 are sources that lean to the right. I guess it's no surprise that right-leaning sources would ignore this story, but you can also check out each source in more detail. So let's check out this one, the Norfolk Daily News. Let's just go ahead and read that. And there you go. Ground News has definitely helped me become more media literate, and I strongly encourage you to try it out for yourself. If you use my link, you'll get 30% off their all-access Vantage subscription. Go to ground.news/MrBeat, or just click on the link in the description of this video and help support an independent news platform that's working to make the media landscape more transparent. Okay, yeah, so that was a sponsor. I want to point out that I was going to make this video whether Ground News reached out to me or not. I was planning on making it before they reached out, okay? Other than the ad itself, they didn't tell me what to say in this video. Regardless, I want you to critically think about the ad's role in this video. How does the ad affect this video? Does it change your perception of the information in this video? Anyway, since much of the sources of information we consume is mass media, I also want to bring up the 5 filters of mass media as explained in the classic book Manufacturing Consent by Edward Herman and Noam Chomsky. Basically, Basically, Herman and Chomsky argued that all mass media has to pass through these 5 filters before it reaches us. Ownership, meaning that the information has to be approved by the media companies that own the media, and these owners ultimately just want to make money. Advertising, meaning that the information can only be presented through advertising, since that's the main way media makes money, and any media that scares off advertisers tends to not make it to us. Sourcing, meaning that since media companies heavily rely on just a handful of sources, they are often at their mercy. Flack, meaning that individuals and organizations often talk trash about media, and these media companies don't want that, so they alter what gets covered to prevent that. And finally, the common enemy. Media companies are more likely to cover something if it creates fear and hatred, mostly because it makes them more money, but also because it's useful in helping people accept authority. Herman and Chomsky focused on the common enemy being communism, but it really could be anything to get the masses afraid and hateful. It's really difficult to analyze the reliability and credibility of the sources that contain information about picking your nose causing cancer because, well, there are virtually no sources out there that contain information about picking your nose causing cancer. Moving on. So there's this little website called Twitter, and I recently tweeted, "I'm done." It was intentionally cryptic, especially considering the fact that I went silent on the platform for 3 days afterward. As I predicted, the tweet confused and worried a lot of folks. Most were just like, "With what?" or posted a Jover meme. But there were so many others with different interpretations of what I meant. Michael said, with supporting ranked choice voting, which was a good guess since I did a live stream criticizing ranked choice voting the day after the tweet. Evan inferred that maybe I was done with the Royals. They are having a bad season. Daniel implied I was done with Twitter, but only Webb got it right. I was just announcing that I was done editing my Andrew Jackson video. Yeah, I admit that I tweeted that as a social experiment for this video, but the point was to show you that context matters. You had no context with that tweet, or nearly all tweets for that matter. Man, Twitter sucks. Wait a second, why did I get so many likes on this tweet? What the heck? Anyway, despite having no context, lots of people confidently filled in the blanks, didn't they? Removing context is just one way we fail to use logical reasoning. The way we painstakingly use our brains to arrive at a conclusion by breaking down claims in a more broad way. It also requires critical thinking. Because information is constantly manipulating us, often the best way to use logical reasoning when encountering new information is to just be aware of logical fallacies. I made a video about logical fallacies that you can watch after this video, and that one actually holds up pretty well. So yeah, you can watch that. In the video, I call out logical fallacies made by Joe Rogan and Ben Shapiro in an episode they recorded on July 22nd, 2020. And yes, I made logical fallacies myself in that actual video, and I'm grateful commenters pointed that out. But if you don't want to watch that video, then shame on you! How dare you? I'm just kidding. You don't have to watch the video. Shame on you. Oh, shame on you. Shame on you. But if you don't want to watch that video, logical fallacies are simply common errors in reasoning based on bad logic. In my opinion, the two most common logical fallacies that most of us are regularly guilty of are the straw man fallacy, in which we misrepresent someone's argument to make it easier to attack, and the cherry picking fallacy, in which we pick out only evidence that fits an argument we already have. So is it logical to assume that picking your nose causes cancer? No, absolutely not. The only reason why I even brought that claim up is because I wanted to work in picking your nose into one of my videos, and I figured this was the best way I could do that. There was also a bunch of cool stock footage I found with people picking their nose, so I was like, hey, I got to use that somehow for a video. So I'm not picking my nose right now. I'm not picking my nose. I was itching it right here. So does picking your nose cause cancer? No, that claim is mostly false. That said, we should be open to the fact that later research could demonstrate evidence that it is true. One of the best places to figure out the truth is a courtroom trial. I recently served on a jury, and I was amazed at how we worked together to attempt to critically think to find the truth with the limited evidence we had. In deliberations, we relied heavily on corroboration since we mostly just had witness testimonies to go off of. We also heard testimony from experts who listed their credentials, experts who had different conclusions about the same evidence. Yeah, my brain got a lot of exercise that week. But even trials have lots of manipulation. Lawyers, in particular, are extremely skilled at manipulating juries. Most politicians used to be lawyers, by the way. Just saying. Heck, even some witnesses are good at manipulating us. It can be tough in the courtroom not to let our emotions get in the way of only looking at the evidence. But hey, just as much as we're logical creatures, we're also emotional creatures. In fact, when it comes to emotional issues that tap into our values, beliefs, and identity, we often ditch logic and confirmation bias takes over. Confirmation bias is the tendency to seek out information that confirms or supports our prior values, beliefs, or identity. In fact, when we encounter information that goes against our values, beliefs, or identity, it hurts. It freaking hurts. That pain we feel when this happens is called cognitive dissonance. Brain scans even show that the part of our brains that is activated during a physical threat is the same part activated when someone attacks our values, beliefs, or identity. But it's important that we stay curious and not get too comfortable with any belief. Finding out if something is true or not is a process. A constant process that will continue the rest of your life. And it's a painful process. Critical thinking actually kind of hurts. But as with most things, the more we practice it, the easier it gets. Heck, you may already be good at it. You just never realized it. For example, when you get a suspicious email and your bullcrap detectors go off in your head thinking it's probably a scam, that's your brain jump-starting into critical thinking mode. Many philosophers even argue that there's no such thing as an absolute or objective truth. Although science always seeks the truth, nearly all scientists would agree that any of their conclusions could not ever be absolute. It's best to think of knowledge existing on a spectrum. On one end of the spectrum is absolute certainty. On the other end is complete cluelessness. Almost all truth is between. The more evidence we have, the more certain we can be, but I'd be careful of anyone claiming absolute certainty. After all, as I just pointed out, even scientific knowledge is unsettled. Here's a similar spectrum, but with scientific knowledge added. Notice how hypothesis is over here near completely clueless, and theory is not all the way over to absolute proof. Science is also a process. With more and better evidence, all scientists can do is reduce uncertainty. I am pretty confident about this next claim. You ready for this? You ready, huh? Let's do this. Let's go. Nothing is black and white. Everything is shades of gray. Nothing is ever this or that. You may get with this and think you can get with that. Our brains are wired for shortcuts. We love only having two options when it comes to truth. We like to think something is either true or false, but almost always it's somewhere in between. Figuring out where on the spectrum the truth lies is freaking difficult, so it's often best to just trust experts. But blindly trusting experts is not good either. And remember, we trust experts based on their effectiveness at predicting the future. In fact, our best way to know if something is true is
if it can predict the future.
By the way, I'm going with the electric bike company that says their bike will last at least 15 years. And when I look around, I see a lot of their bikes on the road that are at least 15 years or older. And finally, don't forget how emotions drive what we perceive as truth. We like to think something is true because we want it to be true. We tend to believe what we want to believe. And unfortunately, personalized algorithms often keep us trapped into only seeing what we want to believe. Whatever truth you are seeking, I challenge you to open your mind and suspend your judgment. In my opinion, one of the most liberating things that you can say is, I don't know. Please let me know in the comments if I left anything out, or more importantly, if I got anything wrong. I'm sure you can trust those experts down in the comments, especially if they list their credentials and cite their sources. Anyway, I'm not an expert when it comes to epistemology or the theory of knowledge, but I do have a master's degree in history, a bachelor's degree in education, and another bachelor's degree in journalism. Also, I've been teaching for 14 years. Hopefully that means you trust me at least a little bit. Thanks for watching.